now live.
Thank you very much. It's my great pleasure at this time to call to order the regular council meeting of June the 8th, 2021. Just before we start, though, I'd like to take a moment to reflect on the horrific tragedy that was discovered at the residential school in Kamloops and the discovery of 215 children that had died at that facility. And I would like to be able to reflect on that with a moment of silence. So we will observe a moment of silence to honor what happened there and reflect on it. Thank you very much for pausing with me. As always, we are pleased to be here today on the traditional territory of Treaty 6. We acknowledge all those who share a deep connection with this land. The City of Beaumont respects the histories, languages, and cultures of all of Canada's First Peoples, whether they be of First Nation, Métis, or Inuit descent, and appreciates that their presence continues to enrich Canada's vibrant communities. We are all Treaty people. Just before we move forward with the agenda, we have two proclamations this evening. The first proclamation is for National Indigenous Peoples Day on June 21st, 2021. Whereas Beaumont was settled and built on the traditional lands and territories of the First Nations peoples, the homeland of the Métis, and as part of the greater Edmonton area, the region is a place where Inuit and people of the North come to receive services and connect with family, friends, and neighbors. And whereas every summer solstice is a sacred time for Indigenous peoples and communities across Canada to celebrate the ceremony, culture, tradition, and teachings, it marks a time for all people living in Canada to acknowledge the many contributions Indigenous peoples have made and continue to make through knowledge, law, labor, spirituality, technology, science, philosophy, art, health, and wellness. And whereas National Indigenous Peoples Day is an opportunity to acknowledge the trauma that was caused by the attempts to assimilate and colonize the original peoples of this land, while also recognizing the resilience and strength of Indigenous peoples to continue connecting with their culture and heritage despite our dark shared history and the systemic racism that still exists today. And whereas the City of Beaumont is committed as allies to assist Indigenous peoples in reclaiming their culture and traditions, while making room for Indigenous voices within our structures and at our decision-making tables to ensure equity and equality for Indigenous peoples going forward. Now, therefore, it be it resolved that I, Mayor John Stewart, do hereby proclaim June 21st, 2021 as National Indigenous Peoples Day in the City of Beaumont, Alberta, dated the 20th day of May, 2021. And as well, I'm happy to proclaim Seniors Week from June 7th to 13th, 2021, from supporting family and friends to volunteering. And whereas the value seniors bring to a community is priceless, as they hold our history, have valuable memories and stories of where we come from and experiences that help us as we look to the future. And whereas this year marks the 32nd anniversary of Seniors Week in Alberta to honor the enormous contributions of seniors in the City of Beaumont, as well as across the province. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Mayor John Stewart, do hereby proclaim June 7th to 13th, 2021 as Seniors Week in the City of Beaumont, Alberta, dated the 7th day of May, 2021. So, adoption of the agenda. Are there any changes to the agenda? City Clerk.
Thank you, Your Worship. Administration doesn't have any amendments to the agenda at this time.
Thank you very much. Is there a member of council willing to move adoption of the agenda as presented? Councillor Hendricks.
So moved, your worship.
Discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor? And that carries unanimously. The consent agenda. You have 5 items, so I move that council consent to approve the following agenda items without debate. Item 5A, the regular council meeting minutes of May 25th, 2021. Item 8D, the interim traffic calming repeal. Item 8E, the draft council governance manual. Item 8F, 2021 council summer meeting schedule. And item 12A, Town of High River proposed Alberta coal restriction policy. For those that are wondering, this is just a quick procedural thing. We forgot to set for information at our last meeting, so that's why that one is back. Discussion on the motion. Is everybody okay with those? Okay, seeing none, call the question. All in favor? And looking for count. There we go. And that carries unanimously. Thank you very much. Which brings us to the open forum. And I understand we have 2 presenters this evening. City Clerk.
Thank you, Your Worship. Yes, we do have 2 presenters for the open forum. I will let in the first presenter. Thank you, Your Worship. The first attendant has joined the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good evening, Mr. Dimmick. Welcome to our council meeting. You have 5 minutes to address council on the matter with which you wish to speak. The floor is yours.
Hello?
We can hear you. Mr. Dimmick, can you hear us?
I can hear everyone. Can everybody hear me?
We can hear you anytime you're ready.
Fantastic. Well, hello everyone, and thank you for allowing me to speak today. I have to talk quickly because I only have 5 minutes and there's a lot of information. My name is Sean Dimmick and I was a resident of Beaumont for 38.5 years. I moved to Southern BC in September of last year. My parents moved to Beaumont in the 70s and still live in Beaumont. I've owned a couple properties in Beaumont and still have a rental property. Oh my goodness.
Mr. Dimmick, if you could please mute the live stream in the background, you're just getting a little bit of feedback.
Okay, I
Thank
hope
you.
that's better. This is the first time that I've spoken to council, and up until a couple of months ago, I've never complained to the town about anything. Not about the lack of snow removal or dandelions growing everywhere, or even how council spends our tax dollars. Although if Bellevue Rink is going to be torn down, you'll definitely hear from me again. This all started in April when I called in to see if the letter from the Accurate Assessment Group was real. It looked like a scam to me and many other people. I spoke to 2 people at City Hall and they could not provide me with any answers other than it had to be filled out. And one said that I should make arrangements to have the forms filled out properly or make a trip back to Beaumont to complete. Weird when the person who told me that knew that I lived in BC and that non-essential travel shouldn't happen during COVID. So I called John Stewart on April 15th and we talked for 19 minutes. I asked him some questions and he assured me that he would get me some answers and that it would take a couple of days. I emailed and left John a voicemail on April 29th because I hadn't heard back from him and didn't get a response from him until I posted on a Facebook group on April 30th. I don't post on social media. This might have been my 3rd or 4th post of my entire life. Weird how that works. He also told me to contact Pauline Donnan, more on her to come. John answered a couple of questions in his response on May 5th, and I replied by asking a couple more simple questions. Haven't heard back from him since. I emailed him May 12th and have left him approximately a dozen voicemails on his office line and cell since that date. That might sound like a lot, but it's only 1 or 2 voicemails a week, and I still don't have a response. Our last direct communication was May 5th when I emailed a couple more questions. Also, I'm pretty sure the office line has my number blocked so that it goes directly to voicemail, or the receptionist doesn't answer that phone at all. John Stewart told me to contact Pauline Donnan, so I emailed and left her a voicemail on April 30th. No response the following Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday. I emailed her again May 5th and CC'd John Stewart and left her another voicemail on May 5th. No response. I called her again on May 6th and she answered the phone. But she's not the person I needed to talk to. I needed to talk to Curtis DeBlanco. Communication with Curtis DeBlanco, who is the director of finance, started out great. We talked for 24 minutes on May 6th, and he actually emailed me later that day asking what questions I had. I thought it was fantastic. I emailed him my questions that night and left him a voicemail on May 13th asking for an update, and he emailed me back later that day with some answers. Great again. I emailed him a couple more questions and he replied on May 18th, but something seemed very off with the information, so I asked for clarification via email on May 18th. No response. I emailed him May 25th, May 28th, and no response. On June 4th, I emailed a couple counselors asking how to speak at a Zoom council meeting. Out of nowhere, haha, I received an email back from Curtis later that day stating, and I quote, "Information provided to be sufficient and will no longer be responding to this matter." Fine with me. Why not send a response via email and reply to one of the emails on May 18th, 25th, or 28th? Trying to deal with John Stewart, Pauline, and Curtis has been extremely frustrating. Curtis has provided some clarification, which is great and very much appreciated. These are not difficult questions that I've been asking. Through this, I have heard from numerous other people in Beaumont that John Stewart doesn't respond to emails or voicemails, and it's been like this for years. And that this also applies to other City Hall staff. Mr. Stewart, I understand that you cannot reply to every email or voicemail, but you assured me during that original phone conversation that lasted 19 minutes that you, not someone else, would answer my questions. Why haven't you responded? What policies and procedures are in place to make sure that taxpayers' questions are answered by city staff in a timely manner? A post on social media or asking how to speak at a council meeting shouldn't be the only way to get questions answered. And just for everyone's information, I have emailed documentation of everything I just said in case other councillors are interested. Thank you for your time. And John Stewart, I would really appreciate some sort of response because I've been waiting a long time to hear from you. Thank you.
Well, Mr. Dimick, appreciate your coming in tonight. But let's how do I put this? The reason that you've not been corresponded with is because your mannerisms when communicating with myself and my staff have been both harassing and abusive in nature, and we don't have to put up with that.
I agree with that.
Second of all, your questions were answered. So from a city's perspective, the questions were done. Curtis took over, answered your questions expertly, and therefore the loop on this is closed. If you don't like those answers, I'm sorry about that, but they are what they are.
I have no issue with the answers. I have the issue with lack of communication back and forth.
Well, I'm not going to go around. This is a public forum. I'm not going to go around that tonight with you. Unless you have anything else to say, I think we're done here.
So are there any policies or procedures in place?
Yes, there are.
So waiting 2 or 3 weeks to receive an email back is acceptable?
Mr. Dimick, your situation falls into outside of the thing, and we're not going to go around this tonight. This is not going to happen. So appreciate you coming in tonight. And I think we're going to close this matter off and move on to our next presenter. Thank you for coming in. City Clerk, have we got our next presenter, please?
Thank you, Your Worship. Our next presenter is Corey Bolston, and I will just add Corey to the meeting right away here. Thank you, Your Worship. Corey has been added to the meeting. Thank you.
Good evening, Corey. Welcome to our council meeting this evening. Welcome to the open forum. Just so you know, you got about 5 minutes to cover your topic, give or take. After that, some council may open it up to the floor for council to ask some questions. Other than that, the floor is yours.
Excellent. Just a quick question. Does anybody know how I can share my screen?
Hang on. There should be a green button at the bottom of the Zoom that says share screen, but maybe the city clerk can help us out.
No, I see it. I got it.
Once you hit that, you'll have a bunch of windows one window that will pop up, and then you can choose your presentation.
Okay, I think this is the one I want. Okay, is that working for everybody?
It's pictures of, it says life would be better even in Beaumont with some chickens.
That's the one.
And it's working.
Okay. Hello, my name is Corey Bolson, and I've been a proud resident of Beaumont since 2010. I'm here today to speak on behalf of many other Beaumont residents who are eager for action from the City of Beaumont to take the necessary actions in allowing the raising of backyard hens, as well as other urban agricultural pursuits. But first, a little bit about me and why I'm here. I sent my first email to council inquiring about raising backyard hens years ago. I was told that hens did not fit into Beaumont's animal control bylaw nor the land use bylaw, but that the city was actively working to make amendments to these bylaws that would allow backyard hens. I was told to keep checking the status of these bylaws on the website as change was just around the corner. Earlier this spring, my neighbor sent a similar email to council and received almost the exact same response. In March, she decided to create a private Facebook group called Backyard Chickens for Beaumont, Alberta, which now boasts 116 members, all of whom are in support of backyard hens within Beaumont boundaries. I've collected the names, addresses, and phone numbers of 52 residents to date who are dedicated to making backyard hens a reality in this fine city of ours. Local food isn't just a trend, it's the future. And so I began researching into what was required to responsibly own backyard hens in an urban setting. My research was much easier than I'd imagined, as I could easily access the policies and regulations of multiple municipalities near Beaumont, including the City of Edmonton, Leduc, St. Albert, Devon, Grand Prairie, and Red Deer, to name a few, who have already successfully implemented urban hen keeping programs. These municipalities all have similar policies with minor deviations, and all have gone through a pilot program process beforehand with exceptionally successful results. Making my research easier yet was the fact that the City of Beaumont commissioned and received an urban agricultural report in 2018, which I emailed to each of you today, earlier this afternoon, and I really encourage you to read. In this report, created by students in their final year of urban and regional planning at the University of Alberta, 295 Beaumontonians participated in a public survey. Participants were from a large range of neighborhoods and represented diverse ages from 16 to 99. Overall, every type of urban agriculture mentioned in the public survey received a majority support. That means that of everyone surveyed, everyone agreed that Beaumont needs more urban agriculture, not only backyard hens, but also in the form of garden and urban agricultural programs for schools and the general public, community gardens, orchards, and edible landscaping. Respondents recognized urban agriculture as a method of encouraging a sense of community, sustainable urban living, and contributing to healthy lifestyles and a healthy community. Beaumont is a vibrant city that prides itself on innovation and sustainability, with a strong focus on building a solid foundation for its future generations. We feel that the ability to own backyard hens, as well as all other forms of urban agriculture mentioned in the Urban Agriculture Report, as well as other forms of is a natural step forward, as indicated by the many communities that have already successfully implemented similar programs. As indicated as an objective of the Beaumont Community Development Plan published in 2019, page 31, Beaumont embraces its agricultural heritage and encourages opportunities for all types of urban agriculture. The same plan promised to explore regulations for community gardens, backyard chickens, beekeeping, and rooftop gardens under the Land Use Bylaw section. The benefits of urban agriculture are vast and varied. I'm not going to spend my time tonight listing them all off, because I believe that Beaumont councillors are very educated within their many publications and reports on the benefits that come with urban agricultural practices, including the keeping of urban hens. So let's talk some statistics. Regarding school gardens and programming, in the public survey of 2018, 94% of respondents supported urban agricultural programming for children and youth. 94%. When such a huge majority of respondents were in support of school gardens, how can this program not have already been implemented? 89% of Beaumont respondents agree that the establishment of community gardens would be beneficial. 86% of respondents agree that Beaumont should incorporate edible landscaping into public lands. 65% of respondents agreed they would be in support of backyard hens, and 66% of respondents agree that Beaumont should consider a pilot project which would allow a sample of homes to have backyard hens. These numbers show that the citizens of Beaumont again and again are in support of urban agriculture developments in our city, yet no policies or bylaws have yet been amended to reflect this demand. I'm here tonight to ask why. According to the 2019 Municipal Development Plan, once urban agriculture in all forms are thriving within the community, Beaumont will have successfully achieved its goal of being a healthy, vibrant community. I'm here to say it's time to make this happen. Urban agriculture is not thriving in this community, and there's no reason that it shouldn't be. The demand is loud, the residents are tired of waiting, and we want some action. I'm here to offer my time and my energy to the City of Beaumont in any way that's required to make urban agriculture a reality in this incredible city of ours, effective immediately. Thank you so much for your time and considerations. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
I appreciate that, Corey, coming in. Actually, it's kind of interesting. Action you want, action you shall have. Is actually our community standards bylaw, which is currently under development, is actually coming back to council for a first look in the fall, and before it goes out to public consultation and public involvement, which will cover at least some of this urban agricultural part that you said. So I apologize if we've been a little slow getting out the gate, but we are moving on it, even though we are moving a little slow. So yeah, it is coming, and we do appreciate your volunteering to consult with us when we're ready for public consultation. I'll open it up to members of council for questions and comments. I'm not sure who was first. Councillor Barnhart.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you very much, Corey, for the presentation. I'm with you on that. Let's get going. And for my part, I just wanted to see if you were aware of the RAMP task force that's been happening in our region, the Regional Agricultural Master Plan.
No, I don't think I am.
Well, I would point you to the website, Edmonton Metropolitan Regional Board, and RAMP.
Okay.
And if you look it up, I believe there's still time for you to participate in a survey that's there for people that are stakeholders and interested in urban agriculture and agriculture in general. And I know council agrees that we have huge opportunities, economic and definitely social, around the whole agricultural industry. So definitely support what you're saying. And yeah, we've got all the words there. Now we got to get the action. So, thanks, Corey.
Thank you.
Councillor Runka Swain, followed by Councillor Van Newkirk and Councillor Stout. Popular topic.
Good evening, Corey. I really appreciate your passionate comments there. Certainly came across it. Thank you for all the effort you put into this. I wonder if administration could just provide a bit of context for not just for Corey, but for other folks who are listening and interested in this, just around the timing of that. John, Mayor, sorry, mentioned community standards bylaw, but I wonder if administration could just provide a bit more background around what that looks like. What is the timing for engagement, so that there could be some more concrete timelines for this for everyone in Beaumont who's interested in this program. So, Mike, I'll hope you could provide a bit of background on that.
Theo?
Sure, certainly, Councillor Moncaswin through the chair. The community standards bylaw is all encompassing, and it contains so many different things that require public engagement. And obviously in the last 16 months, we haven't had the opportunity to do that, but we have been working on the development of the bylaw. Our plan is to bring it back this fall and to have the public engagement as well, so we can really zero in on what's important to the bylaw. You know, it contains things like nuisance grounds and, you know, bees and chickens, backyard hens, and people typically migrate to one end of those continuums or the other. So it's going to be a very interesting process, but our plan is to have a draft in front of council in the fall.
I guess if I could follow up on that, that's okay. So, I mean, obviously, you know, Corey identified it in our own documents that we said this is where we wanted to be, a visionary statement. I guess the concern or the challenge would be that, you know, we've seen the support for this at a high level through some data, but if the process gets dragged down through some of the other aspects within that larger bylaw, is there an opportunity to carve this out, or just trying to think of ways and path forward here, given the timing of this and where folks want to get moving with it. So just curious if there have been any thoughts around potentially looking at that overall bylaw and how that engagement consultation might come back.
So far, our approach has been to make the community standards bylaw all encompassing. So it would include those types of things. I could talk to planning and see if it makes sense to bolt it onto something else, but that was a decision that was made, you know, quite some time ago, that we required this community standards bylaw. And you're right, there are other parts of it that can bog it down. Yeah, so we can look and see if there's something we can bolt it onto. I'm not sure that there is.
Yeah, I just think it'd be, maybe not now, but as we get that back, you said you'd be presenting it back to council in the fall, and so engagement after that process, or is this engagement beforehand and then come in council? I wasn't quite clear on that.
Well, what we typically do is bring it back as a draft to a committee to see if we're on the right track, and then we go out to public. We typically don't want to go out to the public with something the council hasn't put their eyes on yet.
Yeah, so we're talking committee of the whole in the fall, and then public engagement, and then, not coming, obviously the new council that would be there would be the ones that would be making that decision. Is that a fair comment?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to make sure that there's some clarity around the timelines. And yeah, I'll speak for myself here. I won't get ahead of the public engagement process, but certainly I've heard a lot of positive feedback, wanting us to move forward with this as soon as possible. So thanks for your answers there, Mike.
Councillor Van Newkirk, followed by Councillor Stout.
Yeah, thank you for coming in, and thanks for the presentation tonight. I believe there was I was clicking frantically here to try and look through our past budgets, but there was a community garden that was approved in a past budget, but did not come to life for operational reasons at that time. So there was historically some dollars put forward to that, but it didn't come together for whatever reason at that time. And very thorough presentation. Thank you for that. For me on my end, I really do await the further public engagement on the full package of urban agriculture. You're here presenting on urban hens, which is great, and you've gathered a group of people that are passionate about that, which is even better. Thank you for that. And the other sides of the urban agricultural front, there are groups who are interested in the front yard gardens, and as the graph stated, the orchard type trees in the park and stuff. And my desire for the urban agriculture package would be to look at it as a whole, and how the strategy all works together, because urban agriculture it is circular and it works together, right? So my preference tonight would be to look at everything as a whole and see where that gets. So once again, thank you for presenting.
Councillor Stout, and then we'll go back to the presenter for some closing comments if she wishes to make some, and then we'll move on.
Thank you, Worship. Hi, Corey. Thanks for your presentation, and thanks for the passion and excitement you bring to that. That was, I agree with you. I think it's high time that we took some action on this particular subject, in not just as Councillor Van Newkirk alluded to, not just to the on the urban chickens, but on the other aspects as well, including obviously beekeeping. That must have been at the front of my mind. Question for administration. When Ms. Balderson raised this, I looked for the urban agriculture report on the town website, did multiple searches, went back through the old agendas. I could not find it at all. As you probably recall, I know one of the authors of it, so I was able to get a copy from her, but I couldn't find it on the town website. Is there any way we could make sure that it's there and make it available?
CEO?
Sure, I can look for it. I'll ask, probably talk to Joanne and find out where it's at and how come we don't have a link, or possibly we do have it, it's just difficult to find.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, if we could flag it in some way so that it can be found. It's possible that it's there and I can't see it, certainly, yes. But then if that's the case, then it'll also be difficult for any resident or member of the public to find too. So if we could flag it if it's already there. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Stout. And once again, myself, Corey, thank you for coming in. I'll give you the opportunity to close out if you wish. But I really do appreciate it, because it's a very timely message considering what we're about to head into in the fall in relation to it. So.
Well, thank you very much. I did just have a couple of comments. I also tried to search for that document online this afternoon to put in my slideshow, and I couldn't find it either. So I second what Mr. Stout was saying. And then the other question I just had for you was, I did fill out the phase 2 public engagement for urban agriculture, the pilot program between, I believe it was like May 14th and 31st that was available through the town website. How does that fit into the community standards bylaw?
Was that with RAMP? Hang on, I need someone from administration.
Mike, are you able to add value to that? Mr. Berezowski, I'm not sure what she's referring to, so I'd have to get back to you.
Sorry, can you repeat what the survey was?
Yeah, I believe it was called the phase 2 public engagement, and it was there were a lot of different things discussed in it, but there was an entire section on the urban agricultural pilot program asking you at the end if you would be willing to volunteer and in what way.
Okay. Well, through your worship to Corey, I think that answers Councillor Kathy Barnhart's question. That was the ramp survey.
And I see Mr. Wong has popped up, so maybe he's got something to add too.
Yeah, between May 14th and May 31, that was the survey and public engagement for the environmental master plan. And one of the action items is that around urban agriculture as part of providing environmental sustainability within the city of Beaumont. So yeah, and that is one of the minor themes, if I can say. Yeah, so it is not exactly urban agriculture, but it is the probably overarching environmental sustainability within the city. So yeah, we just finished the public engagement on that.
Did that answer your question?
Yeah, and when can we expect to see the results from that?
The result, we are analyzing that, and it will be incorporated into the final draft of the environmental master plan, which is tentatively planned to bring back to council early August for council's approval. Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Appreciate you coming in tonight.
Thanks for having me.
All right, so that brings us to item 6, public hearings. We have no public hearings this evening, which brings us to item 7A under registered presentations, the library capital project update.
Thank you, Your Worship. I will just let in Laura right now into the meeting.
Good evening, Laura. How are you tonight? Oh, you're on mute. You got us?
Hello.
Oh, how are you?
Okay, I made it in. I'm well. How about yourself?
Can't complain.
Good
All right,
stuff.
So we understand you're here to give us a bit of an update. So the floor is all yours.
I sure am. I'm just going to share my screen here. Okay, can everybody see that?
Yeah, I have it.
Awesome, perfect. So thank you so much, Mayor Stewart and Council, for the opportunity to present to you guys once again. I'm excited to be bringing you some updates on the library's 2021 capital projects today. So before I dive into the updates, I just wanted to come back to what grounds all the work that we do here at the library, and that is our vision and our values. So the library is at its core about connection. We connect people to information, literacy, knowledge, community, resources, space, technology, ideas, and learning. And as we strive to realize that vision, we're guided by our values of lifelong learning, innovation and creativity, collaboration and partnership, and equity, diversity, and inclusion. So in 2021, Council approved budget for 2 capital projects to help us realize that vision. While leaning into our values. And the first was a library bike, and the second was design work for an expanded library space. Both projects will enhance the livability of Beaumont, ensuring that recreation and cultural facility infrastructure is available to all citizens. So I wanted to start by giving everybody an update on our library bike. The first exciting update is that the library bike is no longer just the library bike. It has been officially christened BB the Biblio bike. The naming of the bike was the first opportunity we had to do some community engagement with the bike, and it was named by members of the public through our social media naming campaign in May. We had lots of wonderful suggestions, but Biblio Bike, BB for short, won the day, so that's the name of our bike. The bike itself is here and looking beautiful. It is an Urban Aero electric cargo bike. It gives us lots of room to stow programming supplies and collections while zipping around quite adeptly on all Beaumont terrain. I have taken it for a few spins, and it's also lots of fun to ride. So the first public appearance of our bike will be on June 10th. We'll be at the Centerville Market this Thursday night for a membership drive and some impromptu stories and rhymes. But the bike will go into full operation in July and August. This is just a preview of the schedule that we're going to have in place, but we'll be visiting parks around Beaumont, the weekly market, and Chateau Vitaline on a weekly basis. We also know that things are reopening for the summer. So we'll be exploring special opportunities and partnerships as they arrive through the summer, and special events on weekends. So our second capital project for the year is design work to complete a library expansion. Council approved funding of $150,000 to complete this design work for a future library expansion. You'll recall that the current library is about half the size required to meet Government of Alberta essential standards for space and collection. And most importantly, we know that we're missing out on opportunities to address community need due to those space constraints. So in the expanded space, we are going to be looking at creating a destination children's area. And this would be really the only free indoor recreational space for families in Beaumont, and a gathering space for the whole community. The maker space will be a technology sandbox for the community where creativity and innovation come to play. It will provide barrier-free access to creative technologies and equipment, and it will be a place where everyone and anyone can come to explore and discover. And finally, maybe not as exciting for the public, but we will be adding much needed staff space to allow us to modernize our processes and ensure efficient library operations. And ultimately, we move to aim from our current 8,500 square feet to approximately 16,000 square feet, allowing us to meet that essential Government of Alberta standard for our current population size in Beaumont. We had some exceptional help from city staff. I just want to say a huge thank you to Paul Suter and Joanne Schwartz, who did incredible work with us on our RFP process. We could not have done it without them. We went out to tender in May and we received 11 bids for the project. And ultimately the winning prime consultant is Reimagine Architects Limited. We were very impressed by their exceptional focus on community engagement. They have a lot of that in their plan, and it's quite iterative at every step. And they have huge expertise and experience expanding libraries. We have begun work with Reimagine, and we're on schedule to present detailed design drawings with a Class B cost estimate to Council in November. We will be starting stakeholder engagement in late June, and I will be in contact with Council at that time about participating in that process. We really want to make sure that the final product realizes the community's goals, but also Council's vision for the city. So that's all I have for you guys tonight on updates for the capital projects. Thank you for funding these exciting projects, and I'd love to answer any questions you have about this work or any other aspects of the library's work.
Appreciate that. It's always fun and exciting to see projects that are progressing. So I'll open it up to questions for members of council. From my own perspective, it's nice to see the bike, and it's nice to see us moving forward on that design proposal. So great work, keep it up. And Councillor McGowan, you're first up.
Yeah, thanks. And hopefully my audio is a little bit better. My headphones in. Thank you, Laura, for coming in and presenting today. Great update. So you guys kind of piloting and just riding the bike in and around the library. It was very exciting to see that. Looking forward to heading down to Colonial Park there for story time. That'll be wonderful. But I did wanted to check in on the application or the grants that was provided. You gave an update around the expansion of the library. City Council just recently, directed administration to pull together a committee looking at the arts space. So I'm just curious because at one point there was a discussion around, does that art space consider looking at a library expansion? So I'm just curious if they're talking with you on that and how the library is potentially involved in those type of discussions.
Yeah, thank you so much for the question. I'll say right off the bat, our RFP flagged the need for coordinating with the arts community. And now that I know we have the committee being struck, we will be working with them. The architecture firm and the library is very aware that there is a real interest in the potential of adding on that arts facility in the library space. We are hopeful at the library that there will be funding available for this expansion to the library before the potential construction of a performing arts facility. We recognize that that's quite a large project and that may take some years to get to. And there is a pretty urgent need for an expansion to the library, but any design work that we come back to you guys with will include consultation with that committee and that community, and we'll bring with it proposals for how we can easily add that extension if adding that performing arts center does end up happening on this space and connected to the library.
Perfect. Yeah, exactly what I wanted to hear. So thank you for that. Just making sure we're all talking together, and you guys are. So thanks for that. And just lastly, just appreciate everything you guys did during the pandemic when you couldn't be open to the public and continuing to keep up your programming. A lot of value from a lot of residents. So just thank you to you and all your staff for trying to figure out how to work in this environment. You guys did a great job. So thanks.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. Are there any other councillors wishing to ask a question or make a comment tonight? Seeing none. Once again, Laura, thank you very much. Appreciate you coming in tonight. It's exciting to see you moving forward, and your organization is doing great work in our community, and we hope we can continue to support you in doing that. So thank you very much. Appreciate you.
Thanks.
Great. So that brings us to 8A. It's a little early for a break, but the next two could be fairly lengthy discussions. So I'm going to make a command decision, and we're going to have a quick 5, and then we'll get